Hi, my name is Chris, and this is the story of how I went from being a full time worship pastor to a full time web designer. Growing up, all I ever really wanted to do was ministry. I had a pretty profound experience with God when I was a teenager, and I just kind of never looked back. So the only thought that I ever had about what I was going to do in life was ministry, and that's all I really prepared for or pursued as an adult. My first church job was as an assistant minister of youth and young adult worship. Sounds like a lot, but eventually I was leading worship for our entire congregation, which was a pretty big church here in Phoenix, Arizona. And things were going great. I was getting opportunities. I had a band that I was recording music with on the side, but then something happened. My wife of nearly 10 years came home one night and kind of out of the blue told me that she was filing for a divorce. My world just kind of came crashing down. Not only did I have to navigate a really tough emotional season, I also lost over half of my income. So I had to really quickly kind of figure out a way to recover that income that I had lost for me and for my 3 little daughters. Without much experience at all, I just started telling people that I was building websites on the side to earn some extra money. And when I say telling people, I mean I told absolutely everyone, friends, family members, coworkers, random people that I met at coffee shops. And then the phone rang. It was a friend whose website had stopped working, and the developer that had made it for her originally wasn't responding to any of her emails. She couldn't pay me, but I didn't care. You'll hear a lot of people give advice to web designers and say things like, don't ever work for free or refuse to work for exposure, but I won't tell you that. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And I kind of wonder if the people that give that advice have ever been in a situation where they feel like they're maybe just a couple bad weeks away from an empty pantry. It took me a while to finish that first website, but for my efforts, I got a $100 Visa gift card, and I was ecstatic. This was the first time anybody had paid me to build a website, and so it meant a lot to me. Then after that, someone else called who needed a refresh on their website. Then someone else called. Things were looking really good, and every time I got a new project, I would increase my prices a little bit. But then the calls stopped. And I just kind of started freaking out. I just assumed that it was just always going to be going up and to the right. But that's not what happened. I was talking to a friend about how I had just kind of run out of leads for new projects. And he had mentioned this new platform called Odesk. And you might be more familiar with its current name, Upwork. And it sounded revolutionary. I was like, are you kidding me? People just go and put their projects up for anybody to come and bid on? It sounded like a dream. So I instantly created an account and did what a lot of other freelancers do on Upwork. I bid on absolutely everything that I could find that was even remotely close to what I was trying to do with web design. I thought for sure this was like a numbers game, right? Like the more I pitch myself to people, the more chances I will have at them actually saying yes. But that's not what happened. I didn't get any responses or even any nibbles from potential clients to actually work on their project. And to be honest, I just kind of forgot about it. But a couple months later, I finally got a message from a potential client. It was a really simple web page for a fitness coaching session, and they could only pay me like $120. And I said, absolutely. That wasn't anywhere near the amount of money that I was making on websites, but I've heard this from a lot of other freelancers who have had success on Upwork, that you just kind of have to take that first project, no matter how much anybody's willing to pay you, because that first project will open you up to a lot of other opportunities. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got that one project, and then more kept coming in. And every single time I got a new project, I would just double the rates of my last one. So I started out charging $500, and then it was $1,000, and then it was $2,000, and then pretty consistently I started getting projects anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000. I went on to earn over $80,000 on Upwork alone and was featured in one of their ad campaigns. But this entire time I was working my tail off. I had my full-time ministry job. I was a single dad, so when my girls would go to bed at 8 p.m., that was like second shift for me. I would work until like 2 or 3 in the morning on on different projects. Everything came to a head for me when I was at a conference with a friend, and during the conference breaks, when he was out going and exploring or hanging out with people, I was stuck in my hotel working on websites. He came back one night and was like, "Hey man, you can't keep doing this forever." And I knew he was right. It was a really tough decision, but I started looking for some open web design positions near me. There was so much fear and doubt about this whole thing, all the questions like, was I any good at web design? Would somebody be willing to hire me? Like, what would people think at my church? And to be honest, I just kind of had to face those questions without really having good answers to them. I just knew in my heart that this was the right step for me and my family. I had some good interviews. I even had a few job offers, but then I got a DM from a company called Showit. Showit is a drag and drop website builder that it was made specifically for creatives, and they were actually hiring for a UX/web design position and on their small staff. I think I was like number 23 of the entire employees or hires for the company. The more I looked into the company and the culture and how much they value family and how much they value their employees, I just knew like, man, this is the perfect opportunity. And thankfully, all the experience that I had built up until this point of working part-time and working into those late nights paid off, because Showit finally reached out and decided that they wanted to hire me. And so that's what I've been doing now for almost 6 years. And things were going great. I was loving my job. I was definitely loving all the perks that came along with it. But one night I was reading through this book. It's called The Proximity Principle by a guy named Ken Coleman. And he talks about how you need to ask yourself where you want your career to be in the next 20 years. And I started thinking about it, and I realized I didn't really care about going on to be the best web designer or the best web developer. Like, what I wanted to do was actually help people who are like me figure out how to become UX designers or web designers, potentially go on to change their careers, build a side hustle, build a business. So that's when I decided to start Self-Made Web Designer, and I've been doing that since right around 2019. But if you're sitting there wondering if you can do what I did, or if you can learn something new or grow a business or potentially go on to find a career that brings more freedom and stability, my answer is you absolutely can. I started with nothing, no formal degree in design, no training or background, just a desperate need to provide for my family and a willingness to learn. And now web design has given me more than just financial stability, right? It's given me the ability to help other people, to be creative, and to build something that I'm really proud of. But here's the key. You have to start before you feel ready. You have to do it scared. You'll never feel like you have enough time. You never feel like you have enough abilities or resources, but you have to do it anyways. Start telling people what you're doing, learn new skills, put yourself out there a little bit. And listen, it's going to be scary, but you never know what kind of opportunities just might open up for you. And hey, if you want to follow along on my journey and get tips on how to do it yourself, make sure to like this episode and subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to hear your own story. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.